Every year, women from around the world fly into Davos to teach billionaires a lesson in economics by overcharging due to a lack of supply. At a time when inflation has gone insane and staff are getting laid off everywhere, the World Economic Forum flew in some of the world's richest people to lecture us on why we shouldn't be flying. Whilst they also fly in ladies of the evening to satisfy the demand because they can't rely on the invisible hand. Rather than solve the financial issues of our time, the rich and powerful instead spend astronomical amounts to be seen at the event and its associated parties. There are two types of people making serious money off this event: the World Economic Forum itself and the ladies of the evening. And I for one think you will join me in saying it's unfair that the billionaires are being taken advantage of by these greedy ladies of the night who jack up their prices because of the economic factors of supply chain issues at the forum.
And that sounds in my business ears like a great business opportunity. If demand is higher than supply, normally there's a great opportunity for anyone.
One of the big talking points at this year's forum is inequality and gender parity, and yet there are no stories of men of the evening being flown in for their services. And why hold this event in Davos, a random small town of just 11,000 people in Switzerland? Well, one possible reason is that it is legal to hire ladies of the evening in Switzerland, where they have to register, get regular checks, and pay taxes. The World Economic Forum meets each year in Davos, Switzerland, and it's an organization that started out with $6,000 in capital in 1971 and is now turning over $390 million a year and has over 800 staff. Up to 3,000 people attend each year, and they're paying $29,000 each to attend the 5-day event plus huge membership fees. What do they get for that money? John Kerry doing stand-up.
Young people who want a future with folks like you here who are, close to young still, but...
What a reaction there.
Money, 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 money. The secret to this is this partnership, Gaia. Putting together, at first I thought it was a great wine, Gaia. But seriously, I'm running over time and I know that.
He was less than 5 minutes into his speech here. He flew on a private jet and destroyed the environment to give us this gold. They also got a Yoko Ono cover band. The bigger question is, why is this event even held? Well, it's very obvious these same people have a lot to hide. They can't talk about workplace labor practices because when you look up their companies, they are filled with controversies. The chair of the board of directors at Maersk, until last year, lectured us on why we should not eat meat because not eating meat for 11 years is the equivalent of one commercial flight. God forbid he use Zoom and not fly to the World Economic Forum, and he could have eaten meat for the next 10 years by his own logic and be still ahead. Oh, and you shouldn't drive a car. However, in 2009, it was estimated that Maersk's fleet's use of bunker fuel released sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxides into the atmosphere, corresponding to the emissions from 9 billion cars, with resultant serious health, environmental, and climate change impacts related.
Now the math would say, well, you need to stop eating meat 11 years to compensate for a flight to Thailand. Yes, but if 1 billion people stop eating meat, I tell you it has a big impact.
Don't you dare eat meat though. He says if 1 billion people don't eat meat, it will make a difference, but that's nothing compared to a total of 37 million tons of emissions in 2021 by Maersk. It's roughly 100 kilos of emissions saved by going vegetarian, so if all of America went vegetarian, it would still not be enough for the 370 million people needed to offset his company, let alone his personal flight into the Economic Forum each year. Meanwhile, past speaker at the World Economic Forum, Bill Gates, might have the solution. He's investing in a company that stops cows from burping, so that's my meat diet covered. The investment comes despite Bill Gates telling the MIT Review in 2021 that it would be almost impossible to eliminate emissions from burping cows and that plant-based beef was the only viable option. Meanwhile, Bill Gates flies on private jets, which he calls his guilty pleasure, even to a Paris climate conference. The World Economic Forum is a powerful organization that brings in leaders from around the world to influence their thinking and economics, but there's no vote on who is in charge. Some of the world's most powerful CEOs, presidents, prime ministers, lawmakers all meet here at this event to discuss economics. Part of that is because of Klaus Schwab's success in creating this major annual event, and there is no one stopping anyone from starting the Compton World Economic Forum and bringing in billionaires to discuss the world's economic needs to Compton. In fact, Klaus was just a random 33-year-old German economist studying at Harvard when he started the whole thing. So if there's any Harvard economists watching this, comment below and let's start the Compton World Economic Forum for the economics and to get rich and maybe the ladies of the evening. Yet each year the forum just seems to be more out of touch posturing, telling us not to fly while they've flown in on private jets. And who can blame them? They get to write off a trip to the Swiss Alps for business purposes and they get to socialize with many of the world's most influential people. They get to compete as to who can say the wackiest, most hypocritical line and then go back home and do nothing about it. In this day and age with Zoom, all of this could be done remotely and in less time, so there's no real reason for this to be done in person. But then how could they get away from their family and mistresses to spend some time with ladies of the evening? Each year, the price of ladies of the evening goes through the roof and they have to be flown in to meet the demand. In 2020, a Swiss law enforcement official told the Times of London that at least 100 sex workers traveled to Davos in anticipation of the week-long event. We need to give up meeting meat, but the carbon footprint of the ladies of the evening flying into the event would take more than 110 years to offset. And we have to double that for them to return home. One lady of the evening, who goes by the name Liana, told the German newspaper Bild that she regularly sees an American attendee at Davos who pays $750 per hour or $2,500 to spend the whole night, plus travel expenses. Which should be none, since her employer should lecture her on why she should ride a bike there for her carbon footprint. Meanwhile, with such a high cost, you would expect some discretion, but these ladies openly brag on Twitter about gossiping with security guards about their clients. Date in Switzerland during #WWF means looking at the gun muzzles of security guards in the hotel corridor at 2 AM and then sharing the giveaway chocolates from the restaurant with them and gossiping about the rich. #Davos, #WEF. A woman who manages an escort service based in the Swiss town of Aargau, another name I'm sure I butchered, which is located 100 miles from Davos, told 20 Minuten that she received 11 bookings and 25 inquiries, and that was just the beginning. Some also book escorts for themselves and their employees to party in the hotel suite, the escort service manager said. Speaking exclusively to Mail Online, one of the workers said, "I have a regular client and he asked me to meet him at Davos as he was attending. I told him I was in Germany, but he arranged flights and a car for me. We stayed in a beautiful hotel in Davos, drinking champagne and eating fabulous meals. I gave him what he required and he was very satisfied." If nothing else, the World Economic Forum appears to unite both the right and the left in hatred, with both sides of the fence protesting and mocking the event for its hypocrisy, and flying in an escort while telling others not to fly is peak hypocrite. Amy, who runs the Pink Sheet escort agency in Amsterdam, sent a team of girls to the event. "I've sent 6 girls to Davos and it's been good for us. In fact, we started first getting inquiries around 2 months ago. Business has been so good there that a couple of the girls have been asked to extend their stay by the clients for the weekend. They're having a fabulous time, luxury hotels, fine food, and they're great company for the clients. Most of the bookings in Davos are for 2 days, so that is 6,000 euros plus, as I mentioned earlier, any expenses. British prostitutes too can be found in Davos. On the website of the international escort agency Swiss Eve, there are a number of British girls. One who advertises a Davos tour is 26-year-old Crystal, a classy, elegant model normally based in London, who charges £3,000 for a 6-hour booking at the client's hotel. And these women are basically secret agents sneaking into hotels. How do you bypass security at hotels? We asked a 30-year-old escort who goes by the name Tiffany during a WhatsApp conversation with her. Discretion is the #1 skill for an escort, especially a high-end one. I wear normal clothes, a purple suit and a black coat to make it look like I'm actually part of the conference scene, she says. Sure, I can get in, baby. I got ID, passport, and vaccination card. I just tell reception I'm here as a guest. I command power in the bedroom and the boardroom. Meanwhile, a young American tech worker told the Daily Mail that you just have to point upstairs at one of the hotels to procure the services of a lady of the evening, whereas other hotels you actually have to make a phone call, which is so prehistoric. And hotels are taking advantage too. The going rate for basic rooms in Davos without even a TV or desk is currently inflation busting £800 a night. It's estimated the event brings in an estimated £80 million to the local economy. And even sports teams are trying to take advantage. Manchester United, who are now routinely protested for their poor performance, which led fans seemingly to force the owners to put the team up for sale, were in attendance to get what they can from the Billionaires. Fitted out with lush velvet chairs and coffee served by staff in bow ties. During the week, a nightcap for guests with canapes and a specialty Red Devil cocktail was hosted by legendary United goalkeeper Peter Schmeichel. To be even able to pay the 29 grand to attend the forum, first you must gain membership, limited to just 1,000 of the world's biggest corporation, which starts at $62,000 per year and can run up to $620,000 for strategic partners. However, government employees, non-profits, and media outlets get in for free. Peter S. Goodman, in his new book Davos Man, How the Billionaires Devoured the World, who's attended the festival many times, writes that he's seen billionaires blindfolded and yelled at by angry officials in group exercises to simulate Syrian refugee experience, and then afterwards nibble on truffles at dinners hosted by global banks. He has watched venture capitalists fresh out of panel discussions about human trafficking, fist bumping over having scored invites to the bacchanal thrown by a Russian oligarch who flew in prostitutes from Moscow. I, of course, know what bacchanal means, but for you degenerates, it means a wild, drunken celebration. According to Goodman, Klaus Schwab's self-importance also went to his head. He expects to be treated like a visiting head of state when he travels, complete with welcoming delegations at the airport. According to Goodman, Klaus Schwab often bragged to colleagues that he expected to receive a Nobel Peace Prize for his work for the forum, and yet in a global tragedy, he still hasn't. As for the private jets, an estimated 1,500 individual private planes jetted into Davos for the forum in 2019. Mark Benioff, founder of Salesforce, admitted Davos is not perfect, but what is the alternative? I'd love to hear your alternatives for Mark in the comments. As for me, I think the only appropriate alternative is they are forced to like and subscribe to my channel and watch every video. It should be noted that not every attendee of the World Economic Forum procured the services of Ladies of the Evening.